Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today, as promised, we're going to be taking a look at this camera, the Sony a6100, and I'm going to take it from this to this, which is a little more kitted out than I would normally have it, especially for my run and gun type stuff, but it is really nice to have when you need the extra stabilization of the gimbal. And I've got some audio accessories on here, some filters on the lens, just the little bits to make it do what I need it to do. Stripped down, nothing but the Sony a6100. And the first thing I'm gonna do is take a Sigma 16mm. It's probably my go-to lens about 90% of the time. Go ahead and set that on there. It's got a nice aperture of 1.4. Pretty much does the trick for vlog style stuff and anything that you want pretty wide. This is also a crop sensor camera, and this is an ASPC or crop sensor lens. So it's a true 16mm for a crop sensor camera like the a6100. I've got the glass on the front. Speaking of the glass on the back, I've added a screen protector, and this was basically the first thing I did with this camera out of the box. You can buy a handful of these for pretty cheap, and this one that I've had on there for the entirety of this camera's life has done the trick and prevented any scratches, though I am pretty careful with this camera. The first thing we'll do is take the lens off, and I'm gonna add a polarizer. This is a Tiffin polarizer that has a 67mm to 72mm rise ring on it. That gets me down to fit this lens, so that way I can use this polarizer on actually a few different lenses I own. I don't have to use different step down rings. So now we've got the circular polarizer on there. The next thing I like to add is a ND filter. So this is a variable ND filter from Gobi, and it's done me pretty well. It doesn't have the prettiest look, but it's good for stopping down when you need it. You know, I try to use this most of the time so I don't have to sacrifice my aperture. And now for audio. I have the Rode Video Micro. Looks like this. It's just a small little, I wouldn't even call it a shotgun mic. It's more of a surround sound type of mic. And the thing I wanted to do initially was put it on the cold shoe on the top of the camera like that. But when you have this wired up to that cold shoe, the issue you have is, especially for anyone looking to vlog, covers up your screen. So when you're holding the camera out here, you've got a giant microphone in front of your screen, which doesn't do you any good. So what I decided to do, take that off, and I picked up one of these cold shoe relocators from Small Rig, and it basically just slips right into the existing cold shoe, and then you can now have a separate cold shoe on the side, which I then put the Rode Video Micro onto. To plug it in, you just open up the flap on the side here. It's got this little cord. I like to wrap it up and over and then under, just to have a little extra kind of cord management, keep it out of the way and kind of in the front of the camera there. But as you can see, we now have access to our front screen. So this works great for, again, any type of vlogging that you intend to do. So you can actually see what you're framing and then also have your audio off to the side. And real quick, I'll show you a different variation for audio. If I'm doing anything with a lav mic, I can take this off. I have a wireless mic from Sarmonic, which actually has this little clip on the back, which actually fits right into the cold shoe. So I can kind of stick it in there and do the same thing with the cord. I like to go up and around and then plug it in. And then I've got my Sarmonic actual microphone, which you can use just like this and clip it on to someone's shirt or jacket, or you can stage it somewhere close by if it's out of the frame. Otherwise, you can run an actual lav mic up through the shirt, which this attaches to, and you can have this kind of down on their belt. And you have the receiver on the camera, which is run right into the camera body, giving the crisper audio than what you get right out of the camera. But for most vlogging, this is not usually what I use unless I have a lot of time to set up. If I'm just kind of out and about, I will definitely use the Rode Video Micro, which does a pretty good job with audio. Sure, there's better mics out there, but for what I use it for, it does the trick. And the other bit of gear that I usually attach to this camera is my Manfrotto mini tripod, which is really nice. It's obviously a tripod on the bottom, much smaller, and it's got this swivel head up top. So this just screws right into the bottom of the camera. And now you have this nice swivel little almost joystick that you can use just to hold the camera. If you're vlogging, you can tilt the screen up, and I like to tilt it all the way towards me like this, and I can hold it pretty comfortably that way. It also works really well as just a tripod, and you can stand it up and have it point in certain directions, and it's got the swivel head to hold it in those positions. And if I'm filming a really silky car video, or if I'm doing some client work or just even personal work that calls for extra stabilization, then I'll go ahead and put my base plate on that attaches to my Zion Crane 2 gimbal. So the camera attaches to another base plate I've got onto the actual gimbal, and we can go ahead and turn it on real quick just to show you. And now we have nice buttery smooth footage coming out of the a6100, which is actually pretty important because this camera does not have any in-body stabilization. So the kit lens it comes with, the 16 to 50 millimeter, does have stabilization in the lens, but it doesn't have any in the camera itself. So if you're using a different lens that doesn't have stabilization, like this Sigma 16 millimeter, having the gimbal to just steady up the shot and make things a little bit smoother definitely adds a nice touch to this camera and gives it some capabilities it otherwise wouldn't have had. So that's the full rig setup in kind of its different variations. I wanted to show you guys what I use to get the job done. It's really a minuscule amount of gear compared to some people's loadouts. I definitely think this camera I'm probably at the brink of its capabilities. I'm definitely looking to upgrade out of the crop sensor game and into a full frame camera, but this is nonetheless a great camera, especially if you're just getting started with photo or video. It's a great camera to learn on, especially if you're kind of committed to Sony. You can learn on this and then work your way up to a full frame camera like the a7S III, and the menu systems and all that are relatively the same, so you'll still be able to work around it. But this camera, for the price, I mean, shoot, it's gotten me through client work, YouTube videos that I've lost track of now, there's so many. And at the end of the day, I really don't have any complaints about this thing. It's really done the job that I've asked it to do every time. I've never really had any overheating issues. It's a workhorse of a little crop sensor camera. So that's my Sony a6100 rig. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Like I said, I've been using this camera now for a while. I think I've found the accessories that do the best job for what I need. And if you guys are in a similar setup, doing YouTube, maybe some small here and there corporate or paid work, you know, it's a decent camera. Like I said, it's great to learn on. If you guys have any questions about it, please leave a comment down below. I will get back to you. Of course, I'll have every accessory I've talked about in this video down in the description. And if you're new here, maybe think about hitting that subscribe button. Doesn't have to, but it sure would be cool if you join the family. I upload new content all the time, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Keep elevating. Adios.